Do you remember when you watched Jurassic Park for the first time? Or at least recall the feeling the film gave you in your youth when that brachiosaur first appeared on the screen? I know I do, and I have never been the same since. Now put your hand up if you would like a new Jurassic Park film to capture that feeling for you once again. That's right, we're all in agreement. Jurassic Park is one of those rare, generational films that come along and change the game forever. It pushed the boundaries of what can be achieved visually on screen, ushering in a new age of CGI blockbuster spectacle. But most importantly, in the words of the great John Hammond,
that they'll capture the imagination of the entire planet.
despite the title, today's video is actually a love letter to the Jurassic franchise. And it is because of my love that I will be staging this video intervention of sorts to help set my beloved Jurassic onto the right path. Yes, it's no secret that the sequels to Jurassic Park have not exactly lived up to the original. With the release of Jurassic World Rebirth, we are now onto the 7th film in the franchise and the beginning of essentially the 3rd era. And it is conclusive to this point that none of them, Rebirth included, have come even close to replicating the greatness of Jurassic Park. With that said, today's video will explore the history of the Jurassic films, the ups, the downs, where it's gone wrong, and most importantly, how to fix it. Join me as we dive into this beloved franchise and let's figure out how to save it from indeed meeting the same fate as the dinosaurs. It all starts back in 1993 with the release of Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park, based on the Michael Crichton novel of the same name. A film about a dinosaur theme park that has been brought to life by an entrepreneur billionaire, John Hammond, as well as a cautionary tale about the dangers of playing God with science and what happens when you lose control of that much power. Jurassic Park was a phenomenal success, cementing its place as an absolute classic of cinema and establishing itself as the definitive dinosaur film, a mantle it still holds to this very day. After the roaring success of the first entry, a sequel was inevitable, so much so that Spielberg lobbied Crichton to write a sequel novel that he could adapt, and that sequel is 1997's The Lost World. A story set on Site B, where the dinosaurs roam free, and Hammond's company InGen have aspirations of bringing the dinosaurs to the mainland. If Jurassic Park's theme was focused on playing God, The Lost World had more of an activist message, warning against man and dinosaurs' coexistence. The film received mixed reviews, but was still a box office success. Next was 2001's Jurassic Park 3, bringing back the first film's main protagonist, Alan Grant. A standalone film with a simple survival story that has little to no bearing on the series as a whole. The film underperformed significantly, making less money again, whilst receiving mostly negative reviews, that ultimately led to the franchise's temporary hiatus. Fast forward 14 years to 2015, and we arrive at the series' soft reboot with the massively successful Jurassic World, going with the obvious storyline choice of a functioning dinosaur theme park, seeing Hammond's dream brought to life until a dino hybrid brings it down. Not a perfect film by any means, but the shot to the arm that the franchise desperately needed at that time in order to reinvigorate it. With $1.6 billion at the box office and decent reviews, Jurassic was back. 3 years later came 2018's Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, with the dinosaurs facing an extinction-level event that gets exploited by a group looking to auction them off to the highest bidder, leading to the dinosaurs' expansion into the modern world. Much like The Lost World, this film also saw worse reviews compared to its predecessor, as well as diminishing returns. Concluding the trilogy was 2022's Jurassic World Dominion, continuing Fallen Kingdom's arc of the dinosaurs spread throughout the world and a company called Biosin exploiting them for their own profits. This paired the Jurassic World cast with the Jurassic Park OGs, which unfortunately still wasn't enough, resulting in a convoluted mess that is widely considered the series' worst, once again making less money and garnering even worse reception. What's interesting about these 6 films is that they sort of have opposite narrative trajectories, in the sense that Jurassic Park films, after the original, gravitated towards more contained survival stories, whilst the Jurassic World films tried to tie things together and expand the lore. And do you want a hot take? I truly believe that had Dominion been decent and stuck the landing, there's an argument to be made that the Jurassic World trilogy would have been superior to the Jurassic Park trilogy as a whole. Because let's face it, the Park films don't follow a consistent narrative, whilst the World films were clearly building towards the expansion of dinosaurs into the modern world. We'll come back to this later. Which brings us now to 2025's Jurassic World Rebirth and the start of a new era with a new cast of main characters. An isolated survival story with a return to the feel of the Jurassic Park films, this time focused on extracting dino DNA for pharmaceutical advancements. Rebirth was modestly well received and took in a decent box office despite earning less than Dominion and thus continuing the downward trend of interest in Jurassic films. Which brings us to the core issue with this franchise and why I am making this video. If the past two trilogies have taught us anything, it's that the first in each always makes the most money, with the following sequels making less and less. Which you can live with when your first films make $1 billion plus, but with Rebirth being the first Jurassic World film not to cross the $1 billion mark, that is cause for serious concern for the inevitable follow-ups. To show you just how problematic the financial situation is, here's the four Jurassic World films side by side. Jurassic World, $1.6 billion, Fallen Kingdom, $1.3 billion, Dominion, $1 billion, and now Rebirth, just over $850 million. It doesn't take a genius to see which direction this franchise is heading, and it's not looking good. This is the part where I start to dig into the problems with this franchise and dissect exactly where it all went wrong. To do this, we need to pinpoint where the problem started and why it never recovered. Whilst The Lost World was a disappointment in comparison to Jurassic Park, it at least added to the mythos and answered some of the thematic questions about dinosaur and man coexisting together. No, the real issues start with 2001's Jurassic Park 3. It's no coincidence that it's the first film to chart its own territory without a novel to adapt itself from, and it shows. I want to be clear that I enjoy JP3 as a dumb, fast-paced monster romp, but the film had absolutely nothing to say with regards to the ethical dilemma that the first two films dealt with. The film was still being written whilst being filmed, and the result was a rushed, uninspired survival film with some basic themes of family. The film actively halted the trajectory of the franchise, reducing it to a simple survival horror, and the box office and reception reflected the disappointment, and thus the franchise went into indefinite hibernation. 14 years later, Jurassic World comes along and gives us the film we always wanted, a functioning dinosaur theme park. A success on all fronts, and Jurassic was back in a big way. And better yet, the film's ending left the door open for endless possibilities going forward. Say what you want about the follow-up, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, but the ending of that film gave us the promise of dinosaurs free-roaming the modern world. Unfortunately, what it also did was follow through on the brainless plotline of weaponized dinosaurs. Seriously, if you have a gun that you must first point at your target before a trained raptor can attack, you might as well just shoot the prick at that point. Why give them a chance to escape? Anyways, sadly, Dominion took this to the next level and completely butchered the series. So much so that they didn't even realize that Dominion ends in literally the exact same place as Fallen Kingdom, animal montage and all. A completely missed opportunity that simultaneously degraded the quality of the brand. After these 6 films, you're almost left forgetting what made the Jurassic Park films great to begin with. Which brings me to this question. When you think of Jurassic Park as a franchise, what comes to your mind? Is it the dinosaurs? Is it the characters? Is it the themes of science, pushing boundaries and playing God? You would be forgiven for thinking the obvious answer is, of course, the dinosaurs. After all, their presence in these films are precisely why audiences have been drawn to them over and over again for decades now. The answer is not that simple, however, and the best evidence for this is indeed the first film, Jurassic Park itself. Confused yet? Stick with me, this is going somewhere. Do you remember the rip-roaring, non-stop dinosaur spectacle that was 1993's Jurassic Park? I sure don't. You know why? Because that's not what it was. Do you want to hazard a guess as to how much actual screen time the dinosaurs have in Jurassic Park within its 2-hour runtime? Here's a hint. It's nowhere close to half. Not even half an hour. 20 minutes would be wrong too. 15 minutes. That is the total amount of screen time our beloved dinosaurs have in Jurassic Park. That means when you rewatch that film, you go 1 hour and 45 minutes without a single dinosaur in shot. Crazy, huh? Want to know what's even crazier? Remember the mighty T-Rex in Jurassic Park? The largest carnivore in the park and the greatest threat to our main characters? That thing was all over the film, right? Wrong. 4 minutes on screen is all we get of the franchise logo. 4 minutes total, and it's not even introduced until halfway through the film. So why am I banging on about dinosaur screen time in such autistic detail? Because it matters. The point I'm trying to make is Jurassic Park is not about the dinosaurs. It's about the main characters, and the dinosaurs are their subjects. Nothing more, nothing less. What is central to Jurassic Park is the characters reckoning with the moral and ethical ramifications of this newly unleashed genetic power, as well as a personal journey for the main character, Alan Grant, going from a child-hating, unsociable paleontologist to a heroic father figure. Even John Hammond goes from an ambitious billionaire to a humbled failure. It's strong character work from start to finish, and it's why the film works so well. We subconsciously care about the dinosaur scenes because of the human characters that are in them. I would even argue that some of the best scenes involve the build-up to a dinosaur reveal and the characters' reactions to them. This is unfortunately a lost art within the Jurassic sequels. They've certainly had their moments, but the focus has undoubtedly shifted more towards the dinosaurs. The Jurassic World films are the perfect example of this, delivering wall-to-wall dino action that as a result have felt devoid of weight and tension. Funny that the more we see of dinosaurs, the less interesting they seem to be. This is due to a combination of the heads at Universal imitating young Grey in Jurassic World,
We need more teeth.
as well as catering to a TikTok generation with the collective attention span of a 2-year-old. The movies have become more like a collection of dinosaur set pieces stitched together to resemble a film. Characters and plot are now secondary. And this is how you end up with a franchise where even segments of its own fanbase are calling for the films to just go all in on the dinosaur action and to abandon the characters completely, something akin to the Godzilla vs. Kong universe, which have basically become a parody of themselves compared to Godzilla 2014. This drives me absolutely insane to hear these kinds of comments because it's like they've completely forgotten what they loved about the original in the first place. And don't get me started on the idiots who say that Jurassic Park films are for children and not meant to be thought about too much. I dare you to call the first film a children's film. Go on, I dare you. Jurassic Park was a thought-provoking adventure targeted at contemporary adults with, yes, family themes. Children becoming obsessed with Jurassic Park was a byproduct, not the intention. Which is why it was beloved by all ages, and proof that children can love a 2-hour film with only 15 minutes of actual dinosaurs. But there is an overarching issue with the franchise that has to do with its place in cinema. The Jurassic franchise has this unique position of making Star Wars and Marvel type money at the box office, whilst having the narrative wingspan of the Alien, Predator, and Terminator films. This might sound like a good thing, but in reality, it places the franchise between a rock and a hard place where it expects itself to have the lore building and universe expansion of a Star Wars or Marvel film, but trying to do so within the realms of a basic survival story. This is quite a difficult predicament for a franchise that doesn't have a collective works of Tolkien, an expanded universe of novels, or a comic book library at its fingertips. It's all on its own, hoping to recapture the magic of the original time and time again. And that, in and of itself, is another issue. Whilst B-level franchises like Alien and Terminator can point to 2 amazing entries within their respective film series, Jurassic Park, on the other hand, stands head and shoulders above its sequels. To the point that it is largely accepted going into a new Jurassic film that no matter how good it is, it will not match up to the original. That's a sad reality to reckon with, and the result is a diminishing franchise, constantly chasing its tail with the hope of dredging up even a sliver of the same emotional response. As a result, the franchise has pigeonholed itself into the island survival story genre, so much so that even when the dinosaurs expanded around the world in Dominion, they still chose to spend the second half of the film in a contained sanctuary, just so they can establish the familiar dinosaurs being superior to human hierarchy. Which is all the proof you need that bringing the dinosaurs to the mainland just doesn't work, because there's no believable scenario where the dinosaurs can pose a serious threat in those settings. Rebirth realized this, which is why they essentially retconned the events of Dominion by eradicating dinosaurs from most of the world, relegating them to a few islands on the equator. Which is probably for the best moving forward. With all of these moving parts, the outcome almost every time is a franchise that constantly hits narrative dead ends. Whether it's expanding the lore by bringing the dinosaurs to the mainland or telling a Jurassic Park 3 or Rebirth type story that's self-contained, the result is almost always the same. Nothing progresses, no lessons are learned, and ultimately, no one cares. But the issues don't end there. As many roadblocks as there are from a narrative standpoint, the characters pose a whole new set of problems of their own. What do I mean by that? Most films we watch in life are comprised of two types of characters, protagonists and antagonists. Jurassic films, on the other hand, are a little different. There are protagonists, antagonists, and the dinosaurs. Why is this a problem? Because dinosaurs are the main character's greatest threats that simply cannot be killed off. By that I mean, Jurassic Park films were never about hunting or killing dinosaurs. None of us want to see Alan Grant pick up an AK-47 and go trophy hunting for brachiosaurs. Okay, maybe that might be cool, but you get my point. That's not what Jurassic films are. They are about surviving them and occasionally marveling at their wonder. On top of that, they are of course the film's main drawcards, and you just cannot kill them off. What do you do with that? You can't kill the main characters because these are family films. You can't kill the dinosaurs because no one wants to see them come to harm. What inevitably happens is they create a cartoonishly evil corporate man to get eaten by the big bad dinosaur at the end of the film. That's basically the plot of half the Jurassic films at this point, and safe to say, it's getting stale. Again, we find another dead end in this franchise. So, the plot can't go anywhere, and neither can the characters. What about the themes? One of the reasons the first film is so timeless is because of its central dilemma that is playing God with science. A theme that's arguably even more relevant today than ever, which is what makes the film so timeless. I would even argue that The Lost World did a decent job of cultivating its own moral conundrum, that being the answering of the question of whether humans and dinosaurs can coexist. Jurassic World tinkered a little with the themes of consumerism, but hardly enough. Meanwhile, Fallen Kingdom and Dominion reckoned with human cloning, but did absolutely nothing with it in the end. It's clear at this point that they haven't been able to come up with a central theme that is worthy of the original. The writers have instead seemed more interested in riding the nostalgia train, like most current franchises to be fair, constructing scenes to remind audiences of the original rather than charting their own territory. Each Jurassic film has had to have its obligatory scenes of marveling at a brachiosaur, hiding in aisles from raptors, and concluding all the Jurassic films with a dino battle, a trend that Rebirth finally bucked. All in service of reminding us of a better film way in the past. Not a wise decision if you're trying to stoke interest in your film, here and now. Because no matter how good the scene may look, it will always be a copy of the original, and fans and audiences will perceive it that way. The last issue of note is the decline in filmmaking style. This is probably the easiest one to fix, but still worth discussing to highlight its importance. Jurassic Park is as much Steven Spielberg's as it is Michael Crichton's. That film does not achieve its iconic status without its iconic director, and Spielberg's style is synonymous with the Jurassic brand. What is the style I speak of? 3 words. Less is more. I touched on this earlier, but the first Jurassic Park film is packed with tension building, using surroundings to infer or foreshadow the presence of a dinosaur. Whether it was the expressions on our characters' faces, the tremors in the cup of water, or the shaking of the trees, these visual cues are as important as actually seeing the dinosaurs. Because Spielberg understood that by building tension around the reveal of these dinosaurs helped to make the reveals all the more impressive. It made us adore the dinosaurs and appreciate them in all their wonder. When you show them all running alongside and smashing into one another, they lose their majesty and appeal. They no longer seem special or even real for that matter. Jurassic films are so much better off when they are withholding these creatures as much as possible. This is how you preserve their appeal on the silver screen and avoid ending up with dinosaur fatigue. Take us back to that style of filmmaking and audiences will respond in kind. I felt Gareth Edwards' Jurassic World Rebirth made an attempt at this, which I found admirable and would love to see him take it even further if given another chance. In short, less dinosaurs equals more impact. This is by far the easiest fix of the franchise, but it may take some adjustment for an audience living in the age of TikTok and constant gratification. So where does this leave us? I've listed a myriad of problems within the franchise, and it all sounds like doom and gloom, right? Wrong. I said at the beginning that this would be a Jurassic intervention, and now that the truth has been spoken, it's time to help our troubled friend get back on the wagon, and I've got a whole host of solutions to help them get there. Starting off, individual survival stories. This is the Jurassic franchise's bread and butter, and making individual self-contained survival stories set on a different island with a different set of characters every time would be a fairly safe option. Budgets could be easily scaled down so that billion-dollar box offices are no longer the target. You can have a ton of fun with different dinosaur kills, Final Destination style, and perhaps even lean more into the horror genre of it all. The downside of this solution is that it would lessen the Jurassic brand, taking it from A-level blockbusters to slightly more niche horror anthologies. But the creative possibilities are endless, and different directors could come on for each film to bring their own flavor to the franchise. That's potential solution number one. Number two, remake the first and second film, adapting them faithfully from the novels. It's no secret that Spielberg's films departed significantly from the first two novels, so there's a serious opportunity to make faithful adaptations that would look and feel significantly different from the first two films. Or alternatively, a mini-series where you could really take your time and capture as much from the novels as possible. This is not a long-term solution for the franchise, but could go a long way towards repairing the brand reputation, at least in the short term. Speaking of TV series, my third solution is a multi-season, big-budget TV show set in a functioning Jurassic Park all-world, following the park operators as they contend with all of the issues a theme park containing dinosaurs would typically have. These episodes could have a procedural format with a Dinosaur of the Week type structure, along with an overarching plot that spans each season. So kind of like the premise for 2015's Jurassic World, but with some serious character development, exploration of themes around genetics and animal exploitation. It would have to be very character-focused to make it viable, and you would have to get creative with ways to keep the dinosaurs threatening, without having them breaking out every week. Not saying it's an easy solution, but there is actually a precedence for this, being the two animated Netflix series Camp Cretaceous and Chaos Theory, which show that you can do character-driven, episodic Jurassic content. My fourth solution is more of an easy fix, not a franchise saver, but for God's sake, make the T-Rex prominent once again. This may be hard to believe, but do you realize that the T-Rex hasn't been the main dinosaur in a Jurassic film since The Lost World? We're talking about the iconic logo of the franchise, the most beloved dinosaur, being reduced to a cameo appearance at best in the last 5 films. How does this happen? They killed it off in Jurassic Park 3 to make way for the Spinosaurus, and then they gave it its epic return in Jurassic World. Both of those were understandable, but from Fallen Kingdom onwards, there's no excuse. Still apply the less is more method described earlier, but just make it clear who's in charge once again. The fifth solution is my most grand and ambitious one, but let's get the bad part of it out of the way. It involves a reboot of sorts. I know, but hear me out. The story of Jurassic Park is a cautionary tale about the dangers of wielding the power of science for profit. The fact that it all started with a microscopic extraction of DNA from a 65-million-year-old mosquito preserved in amber, leading to dinosaurs eating humans in the present day, shows how the smallest things can have the biggest consequences. What if we take that to its logical conclusion? Beyond a theme park, beyond pharmaceuticals, beyond warfare, all the way to an inversion of the food chain, where humans are returned to the caves and dinosaurs ruled the earth once again. I envision a story that shows their expansion into the modern world, similarly to the Jurassic World films, but at some point you have to have a nuclear conflict between nations, of which the dinosaurs are somehow immune to a nuclear fallout, and thus they are the survivors of a nuclear war, leaving humans in the Stone Ages. It fits with the themes of humans playing God, and even pays reference to Dr. Henry Loomis's warnings in Jurassic World Rebirth about humans being too smart for our own good, and that we will cause our own downfalls, whilst the dinosaurs previously lived for hundreds of millions of years, despite their lack of intelligence. A Planet of the Apes type story that could be truly epic, regardless of whether it's told on the big or small screen. Last but not least is more of a broad recommendation for whatever the future holds in store for the Jurassic franchise. Whichever direction Universal chooses to take this beloved franchise, whether it's reboots, endless sequels, or a delve into the television, they need to remember this. Character comes first. I've banged on about this throughout the duration of this video, but I really want to drive it home here. There can be no successful Jurassic Park franchise, long term, if we don't focus on character before anything else. Human characters that we can relate to, fear for, laugh with, and invest in. Alan Grant, Ian Malcolm, Ellie Sattler, John Hammond, Nedry, Muldoon, Lex, and Tim. This is what we had with the first Jurassic Park film, no matter how many of you may have forgotten. We cared about the film because we cared about them. They are the story, and it's because of them that the dinosaurs are as wondrous and terrifying as they are. Anyways, those are my solutions for the Jurassic franchise. By no means are my ideas perfect, but I'm just a guy ranting on the internet. If I can come up with those, surely the collective brains trust that Universal can come up with something better. They just need to remember their roots without simply repeating their roots. The age of nostalgia bait is dying off, and if they don't act soon, the Jurassic franchise shall too perish. It's a sad reality, but it's the truth and the numbers don't lie. Diminishing returns are the future for Jurassic films in their current state. It's happened with the first two trilogies, and it's bound to happen again with this new one, if things don't change significantly. Only this time with Rebirth, the starting point is far worse. To the Universal executives who are definitely listening to this video, I urge you to heed my concerns. I've pointed out all these issues not to insult the Jurassic franchise, but to help it heal. I want nothing more than for a new Jurassic film to come out and blow me away as much as the original. I'm tired of constantly having to defend the redeeming aspects of the sequels, hoping for mediocrity at best every time. To conclude this video intervention, we all want to see the Jurassic Park franchise rise back up to the heights of the original. Jurassic Park films have been a staple of blockbuster cinema for 3 decades now. The kids who grew up watching the original are now taking their kids to the latest entries, and they deserve to witness great Jurassic films as much as the previous generation. If there's a final word I can leave you with, it's this: don't accept mediocrity. Refuse it. We are where we are with this franchise because we accepted long ago that no sequel would ever match up to the original, of which I am also guilty. All 3 Lord of the Rings films are perfection. The Star Wars original trilogy is phenomenal. Harry Potter films maintain their quality throughout their 8-film run. Marvel delivered 20-odd quality films over the course of 10 years. It can be done and has been done. Jurassic Park does not need to be the only great film in its ever-expanding franchise. I believe that life can find a way for it to achieve greatness once again and remind us all why dinosaurs ruled the earth and cinema.